In this video, I'm not only going to show you the real cost of being casual and what that means for your relationships, for your business, for your progress in your life, but also how to break out of living in default and instead live by design. I'll give you 5 easy steps, things you can implement today, walking away from this video, that will transform your life, how you show up, how people see you, how you're respected, how your business grows. How do I know? Because these are things I've tried and tested, not only with myself, but with my one-to-one clients, with other people I've studied, elite performers I've studied. So stick with me and I'll show you exactly how to do that. One of the worst, if not the worst, approach you can take to your life, to your business, to your relationships is to be casual in them. Ancient scripture tells us that the idle mind is the devil's workshop or the devil's playground, whatever you want to call it. Meaning that if you have no direction, you have no North Star or any sense of equilibrium, then your mind is corruptible. AKA you become a casualty of life. If you are casual, you become a casualty of life. And what's funny is the casual approach is slowly becoming the norm in society or in business or in everyday life. Whether that's being casual in your work and your ambitions and your career, or it's being casual in your dating, in your friendships, in your communities. I would liken being casual to being passive. And being passive means to go with the flow or to see where this takes me. It's that kind of mindset. But I can tell you from my own experience and from studying elite performers and from working with them one-to-one, whether it's athletes or creators or entrepreneurs, nothing great is born from being passive. So what's the opposite of being passive? It's being active, which I would liken to intentionality. And that is where greatness is born. The seed of every dream, desire, or achievement comes from a good intention. And this is where the problem lies. We are conditioned as a society, as people, to be casual, to be passive. It's encouraged in what we watch, in what we speak about, in what we listen to. Seriously, just think about the last 3 conversations you had before watching this video. I can almost guarantee that it was pushing you more into the autopilot mindset than the awareness mindset. It's always, yo, did you see that new show on Netflix? Or, yeah, man, I'm just trying to make it to the end of the week. Work's been long. Same, bro, just trying to get to the weekend. The casual approach and mindset is embedded into everything. And I've made a video about this over here if you want to go watch it, how we have lost the care for the things that we do. But to work from home now means to roll out of your bed, log into your laptop and listen in on Zoom meetings whilst you have the latest episode of Love Island on in the background. Wearing smart casual means dressing down instead of wearing that tailored suit or dress. Casual dating means that you're never seriously considering someone because there's always another option for you. There's a guy called Aldis Huxley and he came up with a very harsh observation, but I think it sums up where we are right now. He said countless audiences passively soak in a bath of nonsense. No mental effort is required of them except to sit there and keep their eyes open and eat the popcorn. So my point is, the world is designed to orchestrate your attention and your focus and play with your emotions, which ultimately gives you no choice but to be complacent and passive. And I'm not saying it's inherently bad to relax and wind down and watch a movie or whatever, but I am saying it costs more than you realize. It costs you care, it costs you attention to detail, it costs you focus, and it costs you intensity. And most of all, it costs you present moment awareness. I read something recently and it captured this idea perfectly. I'm paraphrasing here, but it went something along the lines of, intense people are the ones that create the change. It's not about hard work or extreme energy, it's about total presence and awareness. No moment is wasted, and at the forefront of their mind, they hold what truly matters to them. They don't just get to the point, they live there. And once you surround yourself around these type of people, you'll become aware of the clear gap between them and everyone else. And you'll walk away realizing how much of your life you've wasted not living full force. And see, that kind of person is rarer and rarer to come by, which is one of the reasons I'm building my community, which you can find out more about in the description. And I think I know why, because when you're casual and when you are passive, it's because you have this underlying and unaddressed belief that your real life is waiting for you somewhere in the future and it just hasn't begun yet. There's this idea called the provisional life. And it's this trap that most people fall into. It's this strange awareness that you're not quite living in your real life yet. For the time being, you're doing this thing or you're working in this job, but there's always this fantasy in your mind that at some point, that real future, that real life is going to come to you. But that is the trap, because you begin living so passively and so idly that you forget that your real life is happening right now. At this very moment, the cosmic clock is ticking. Another name for it is called deferred happiness syndrome. It's this idea that your present reality is nothing but a prelude to an idyllic future. And what happens is throughout time, throughout life, as the years go by, the ideal future that you have imagined in your life begins to fade. And you realize that the prelude you were living in was your real life. See, when you defer your happiness, you give up your autonomy and your intentionality, and you begin to live passively. Or worse, you outsource it to something else entirely. You let the world decide for you. Carl Jung said that the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, then it will tell you. You become a casualty of life. See, casualness is really interesting because it drains your energy in such a subtle way to the moment that you just don't realize it. in the moment, but decades later, it becomes a crushing weight that you will die underneath. There's something about your life force or your vitality that leaks every time that you are not present and intentional about what it is you're doing. Every time you agree to things that you don't mean, every time that you live unintentionally, your life force leaks. You leak vitality, and then you wonder why you feel so tired when you haven't even moved. Someone put it to me this way: you're not tired because you're doing too much, you're tired because you're doing too little of what sparks the light in you. So the real question isn't what should I do, it's what am I devoting my life to? Because here's the thing, 99% of people live on default mode. Default mode is passive, it's intentionless, and most importantly, it's easy because, like I said, 99% of people live that way. It's knowing what the latest TV series is, but not knowing what you want to do a week from now. Or structuring your life to only feel alive on weekends and selling your weekdays, or 70% of your life and your existence, to autopilot. This default mode is the programming the game comes with. It's like a preset, and it's your choice, and it's the choice of the 1% to break that programming and create their own. That's what you call devotional and designed living. See, devotion and designed are the sacred opposite to being casual. Casual is the enemy of sacred because the divine never enters distracted rooms. I remember reading this book from Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil, and he touches on this perfectly, where he speaks to him and he asks him, how do you control the minds of the population? And the devil responds, by entering and infiltrating the mind of drifters. Drifters is just another term for people who live casually, people who procrastinate, people who don't live intentionally. See, one who fails to control their mind and lives casually experiences distraction when seeing something shiny. It's called shiny object syndrome. It's like a moth who rushes blindly into the flames. So unless you're careful, your mind can also lure you into distraction and maybe even destruction. There's a quote in the Bhagavad Gita that says this perfectly. It says, the turbulent senses forcibly carry away even the mind of a wise man. And so what that means in our modern world is if you're casual with your attention, you'll become a casualty of someone else's life. In other words, the only way out is locking in. So the question is then, how do you live by design and not by default? Well, I'll give you 5 easy ways. First thing is to decide your North Stars. The default mode, or living passively or casually, thrives in vagueness. But living by design starts with clarity. So without a direction, you will drift. With one, you design. Second thing is total present moment awareness. You have to train your mind and body to become consciously engaged in everything that you do. Because even 5 minutes of full awareness beats 5 hours of mindless motion. Third thing is just to carve out the time, whether it's 60 minutes, 20 minutes a day, dedicated to the thing that will move you forward. In that time, no one else has access to you, and you can call it your non-negotiable hour, where you write, where you think, where you reflect, where you train. And this hour compounds into the new identity you end up building. Fourth thing is to master your inputs and just become aware of the noise. Being casual is fed by distraction. It lives off cheap dopamine and noise. And the truth is, most of the world is noise, so it's your job to recognize it and filter out the truth. You can do that by curating the bubble that you live in. Watch what you consume, watch who you speak to, watch what energy you allow into your space. Guard your attention and your hours like it's your life force, because it is. And fifth and final thing, which I would say is the most important, is to surround yourself with people who are doing the same thing. If everyone around you is drifting, then you will as well. In my conversation with Sahil Bloom, which I will link up here somewhere, I talk about with him, you don't just become your environment or the people you're surrounded by, you actually lower to the weakest link in your group, and that becomes your default baseline. So you should make an effort to be in communities, be in rooms where people are like-minded, where people have high energy and they live by design. And if you can't find that room, then build it or join mine. Again, it's a description. See, being casual is simply about the war for your attention and for your vitality, for your life force, for your energy. And if you don't fight for it, then someone else will steal it and make it work for them. And if you walk away from this and think, oh, you don't have to be so serious all the time, I think you've misinterpreted the message. It's not about seriousness, it's actually about playfulness and maximizing wonder and meaning and purpose. And the thing about meaning is you don't find meaning, you build it. So for the week ahead, I urge you to leave casualness at the door. Embrace intentionality, embrace focus, intensity, and present moment awareness. And just notice how much your business improves, how much your connections deepen, how much more meaningful progress you will make, and how different your energy is showing up in rooms. So remain casual and become a casualty, or become intentional and find meaning. As always, the choice is yours. And if you resonate with that at all, like I said, go and check out this video that I had with Sahil Bloom. In this conversation, we explored so many different topics that I feel like most people miss, where he gave me the lessons that a $3 trillion Apple CEO gave him directly one-to-one, and I gave it all to you as well in this video. So go and check that out, and I'll see you in there.